Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta at a great Delhi landmark, which I must confess I have never been to before, the Baha'i Temple. And my guest today, somebody who will probably bring lakhs of people to Delhi to look at something like this. Brian Chesky,
Thank you.
founder of Airbnb.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me here today.
Welcome to Walk the Talk. And
Oh, yes, thank you.
And very happy to meet multi-billionaires who are the same age as one of my children.
Oh, well, in 1981 was a good year to be born, I guess.
Good year to be born, yes.
Yes.
It was also a good year to be born because by the time you guys got to 18, 19, 20, nobody wanted to do anything conventional in her life.
Right. Yeah, my parents were social workers growing up. So I'm from upstate New York. My parents are social workers, and I always wanted to go down a different path. But I never heard the word entrepreneur growing up. No one ever said you can be an entrepreneur. I never even heard the word. And I remember going to college and suddenly somebody said, you're a designer. You can design the world you want to live in. And that was a profound idea, that you can make something, you can change things. And that was always something that I think we were wired to do. And my co-founders, Joe and Nate, were also very similar. We were always starting companies together, always being a little rebellious, a little different than our parents. And we've all kind of...
And you went to a design school.
I went to Rhode Island School of Design in Providence,
Yes.
Rhode Island, which is a design school. It was one of the best schools in our country for design. And
That's the reason we chose one
was-
of our finest examples of a new design in India.
it's a beautiful, stunning,
It's
symmetrical...
something that's come up in our lifetime.
This park is got beautiful symmetry to it. It's really nice.
Right. So after design, then what happens?
So I go to RISD. I study industrial design. Industrial design is the design of any product, anything from a toothbrush to a spaceship and everything in between. I spent a semester at MIT. I was designing these products. I graduate and I go to Los Angeles. And my mom said, if you're going to go to art school, make me a promise. And I said, what's that promise? She said, promise me you'll get a job and that job is going to pay you with health insurance. And so I get this job with health insurance. I'm designing products. And basically the job was entrepreneurs would hire me to design things. And after a time, I'm thinking, why don't I just become an entrepreneur? Well, my friend from RISD, Joe's living in San Francisco. And he tells me, Brian, come to San Francisco. One day I have this moment where it's like my life's like I'm going down a road. And I take a detour. I quit my job, and with $1,000 in the bank, I pack everything in the back of an old Honda Civic, and I get to San Francisco. The problem is my rent's $1,150. Joe and I can't pay our rent. It turns out that weekend.
Joe is your friend.
And Joe's my friend
partner.
from RISD. Yeah, so Joe's my friend at RISD. And Joe and I were at RISD, we're like these two entrepreneurs on campus. We both ran clubs, we were very involved. And Joe told me one day we're going to start a company together. Well, that one day happened.
How could you start a company? You were not even dropouts.
To
To have a successful dropout,
Yeah,
a
exactly.
successful startup, you have to be a dropout.
Exactly. Well, that's what everyone said. When I came to Silicon Valley, people said, you're not Harvard or Stanford dropouts, you're not engineers, you can't start a company. And what I learned is that anybody can be an entrepreneur. That to be an entrepreneur, you just have to be persistent, you have to be resilient, and you have to have this kind of self-determination. Anyway, we get to San Francisco, and we realize there's a design conference coming to San Francisco. All the hotels in San Francisco are sold out. And we had this idea. We said, let's just turn our house into a bed and breakfast for the design conference. Unfortunately, I didn't have any beds, but Joe had 3 air beds. We pulled the air beds out of the closet. We called it the Air Bed and Breakfast. That was it, airbedandbreakfast.com. From that,
And that's how the name Airbnb came in.
everyone wonders, where's Airbnb? Does it mean air travel? No, it was Air Bed and Breakfast. This was a way for us to pay our own rent and solve a small problem in our own life.
See, I have to make a confession. When I first went to America, I was 27 years
Yeah.
old. And I saw all these hoardings and TV commercials
Yeah.
selling airbeds.
Yes.
I said, what the hell's an airbed? and then I started seeing water beds.
Yes.
These are all
It's actually
sort of part of my education in American way of
I didn't
life.
even know much about airbeds either. We started Airbed and Breakfast. Investors asked us, how big is this market? Like, there can't possibly be a big business here. And one of the things when you start a business is they ask, what's your total addressable market? And we started researching airbed sales. That's absurd. Like, we started thinking Airbed and Breakfast could be as big as there are airbeds sold in the world, never realizing people would actually rent their entire homes in Airbnb.
Right. So from 3 airbeds,
Right.
How do you move? I know you've told this
Yeah.
story many times, but this is
So one
Indian
weekend,
audiences
yeah,
want
yeah,
to
yeah.
hear
So
it
one
again.
weekend, 3 people stay with us, including one guest from there was Rizzi from India,
India,
our first
yes, I
guest,
believe,
Amol Surf, and I think he's from Delhi. And
Amol Survey.
he surveyed,
Survey,
yeah,
huh?
yeah. And so he was 30 years old at the time. He's almost 40 now, and he stayed with us, and we became really close friends. He ended up inviting us here to his wedding here, and after that, I asked.
Did you come for the wedding? Or
I
you could
unfortunately
go?
did not. We were traveling on business, but I kind of wish I did. But so after that weekend, Joe and I think, we're ordinary guys. I bet you there's a lot of other ordinary people like us that want to make some extra money, meet cool people. Now, Joe and I realized we're designers and artists. We need a great engineer to partner with. So I asked Joe, I said, well, who's the best engineer you know? He said, well, I have an old roommate, and his name's Nate. Nate went to Harvard, he's a computer scientist, and we got together and we said, what if you could build a website where you can book someone's home as easily as you could book a hotel anywhere in the world? We started building the website in 2008. We launched for South by Southwest, which is this big conference in the United States. We ended up getting 2 bookings, and I was one of the bookings. So it didn't really work. And so and at the time,
And that's the best endorsement for your business when you buy from yourself.
exactly. So we built a product that I wanted to use myself, and we didn't get a lot of bookings, so we did it a 3rd time. And we added a payment system, we added reviews, so if you stay with me, you leave me a review, I leave you a review. We added profiles, and we realized we wanted to make the product really simple.
In fact, I read your entire classroom conversation in Business Insider.
Yes.
And I was sort of having a big laugh reading your star ratings.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so we had this like star system where we had this, basically here's the idea. Business is actually not a hard idea and a hard concept. The purpose of a business is to make a product and for people to love your product. That's it.
That's it.
That's what a business does.
But
And-
also to reach the right people
yes.
for your product.
Well, you eventually have to get the right, you have to build the right product for the right people, and you have to hire great people to build a great company. So first you create a great product, then you build a great company to grow that product. And so but when you first build a product, you have to build something that people love. And so there was an old saying, our first investor told us, he said, make something 100 people love, not something 1 million people just sort of like. So to make something 100 people love, you got to actually find 100 people, and you have to figure out what are your needs, what do you want, and then you show it to them, and you keep improving it until they absolutely love it. Once they love it, they'll tell other people about it, and then you grow by word of mouth. And so we actually went door to door meeting people, getting to know them, and that's really how we built this product. And so we built it one person at a time. And this was a design process. The design process was build something people love. So the star system came into place because we wanted to ask, what would it take to leave a 5-star review every time? And we started noticing all the needs people had. And then we asked, what would it take for you to ask for an imaginary 6-star? Which instead of 5 stars, out of 5 stars.
5 stars is just normal, clean.
Yeah, everyone
stay.
leaves 5 stars on Airbnb, Uber, and other sites because it did what expected.
Right.
But you're not going to tell everyone you know about something because they did what was expected. So a 6-star might be you show up in Airbnb and there's like wine on the table, the bed's got like little mint, there's a handwritten card, they show you out at night. So what's a 7-star? A 7-star would mean they pick you up at the airport, they'd show you around. Well, what's an 8-star? An 8-star would be that they'd actually have a stretch limousine, they'd be an entire experience designed for you. Well, what would an 8-star, and you keep going on. And then you say, well, there'd be a parade in your honor. What would a 9-star be? A 9-star would be, I call it like a Beatles check-in. Like there's 5,000 people cheering for you at the airport. And
That's easy to do in India.
easy to do in India, exactly. But the point is, like, we like to do these brainstorms to keep imagining what's crazier, crazier, crazier. Now, you don't do the crazy, but a small version of the crazy can actually become an interesting product. And in that insight, you may design something that hasn't quite been done before. That's remarkable. What's remarkable is worth talking about. And what's talking about is something that stretches beyond the ordinary life. We just launched this new trips product with experiences. And we actually, design, our mission, our vision is we believe you can go to any community and feel like you belong anywhere.
So you're doing this in India as well?
We're doing this in India, and we're now launching experiences in Delhi. We call them Airbnb trips. And the idea is going to be you can have this amazing, magical experience when you travel. one insight is we actually studied filmmaking and cinema, and we studied plots of movies, and we realized a great movie plot is very similar to a great travel plot, except you don't like come near death. But we studied this thing called the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell, mythologist, created, where you start in your ordinary world and there's something in your life missing. There always is. And you go to this new magical world. You cross the threshold where you have these amazing adventures. You have these people assist you. And at some point you're challenged. You go out of your comfort zone. The person you were dies, and the new, better version of yourself is reborn. You go back to the world you came from. This is basically every movie I've ever seen. It turns out that's also the promise of great travel. Maybe not quite the near-death part, but just this sense that you'll get something you don't have.
Indian movies are more fun.
Oh, they're more fun. Okay,
fun,
well, that's
yeah.
American movies.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
But everything has a journey. And so there's a sense that we're always on a journey. And I think travel sets us on a great journey. There's a saying that a great trip should set you down a path that doesn't end when you return. Imagine traveling as accumulating things in your life. And it's not just photos. I think a lot of people think when they travel, they accumulate photos. We think you can accumulate experiences, friendships, new skills, confidence, a wider perspective in the world. I think travel opens up minds. It also is got an important diplomatic purpose. I mean, travel is one of the most important forms of diplomacy you can do, because what happens is ordinary citizens start living together. And on New Year's Eve, we had our biggest night ever. We had 2 million people come from 191 countries and live together.
And you have what now, 15 million households?
As far as how many people on the platform?
Yes.
Oh, we have about more than 3 million homes and about 160 million guests.